So much for all the technical stuff about equipment and mixing. What being a DJ is really about are these things. Music. The choice of music you play is really what it comes down to. It's what got you into DJing in the first place, and it's the reason why people will hire you later on. The music you like is your personal choice, but often getting access to it can be a problem, particularly if, like most of us, you don't live in a large town or city. How would a DJ go about building up a record collection?
First of all, there'd be the records that I tend to have already. There's many specialist shops, but you have to find them because, especially if you're into vinyl, that is a lot harder. But you can get DJ magazines and there's lots of adverts for hard to find records. That's one thing. This is as far as vinyl goes.
I'm basically from Derby, so the record shops are there. They're quite small. They do get a lot of good records, but I have to travel out further afield, like Nottingham, Birmingham. Obviously their shops are bigger, they get a bigger selection.
The other thing is you can look in local papers, advertising papers, and there's a lot of DJs who are either fed up of DJing or moving on, or there's DJs who are moving over to CDs, and they will try and get rid of their records, and that's probably a very useful way to get hold of them, which is what I've done as well. I've got so many records because there's the ones that I've collected, and then there's other people's collections that I've added to.
Generally, when I first started, I just kind of like picked anything, just to see if I liked it. But now, obviously, the style of music, which is funky house, I know what I want. But at the same time, I have to think about the club that I'm playing at. So there's some tunes I'll just buy for me, I'll play at home. But generally, when I go to buy records, I'll pick it and I'll think, okay, I like that. Will it go well with the crowd that I'm playing at, at the weekend or something like that?
For DJs who aren't based in London, what advice would you give to them on buying records? Where would they go to buy their tunes?
Well, firstly, they could look in magazines like DJ Mag or Mix Mag. They have a lot of record shops in that do mail order, so they could do it that way. The other way would be to go on the internet. I mean, you've got all the record labels on there. They have outlet listings, shops, so you can literally shop online now. You can listen to the records online and then get them mailed out, so you don't even have to leave your house.
When it comes to mixing two records together, it's not just a matter of playing a track from the beginning. One of the many skills in DJing is knowing whereabouts in a track to do the mix. So why have we chosen these two particular records?
Well, they use a very common but simple structure that a lot of dance records have. They've got drums, percussion, some bass lines, some vocals, and they build from the beginning, and they also break towards the end, and they've got breaks in them as well. So they're very useful.
Headphones at the ready, Miles?
What you're going to do first, just going to have a quick listen to the end of this tune, and you can, through looking at the structure, you can see where you're going to mix. And just simply, if I put it on,
is that a good place to mix?
and then here, just for a simple mix, it breaks into drums, and this record actually goes on. It does drums for 16 bars. And then it's got percussion for 8 bars as well. So for a simple mix, that's a great place to do it.
So you don't always have to mix at the end of the record?
No, we'll do some other mixes as well, a little bit more complicated ones later on.
Okay.
Still learning now. You can't really say, I've learnt to mix. You can learn how to beat mix. And that is the most important thing I would say to anybody who's starting out. You must learn how to match those beats so they're both going boom, boom, boom at the same time. And from there, then start learning how to mix, because until you can do that, everything else is just going to seem so like, oh, wow, it's too much. Or you think you're good, and then you see someone like EZ, and you think, oh my God, there's so much to learn.
So the first thing we do, Sarah, we put this tune on, and like that, and then we put this one on, and we've got to try and match the beats. Put it on cue there, and as we did earlier, you can get the cue point first.
Right.
Then you've got to start working with your speed, speeding it up like that. Or of course you could go right down like that as well.
Okay.
Now, I use my finger on the middle when I'm doing this. It sort of helps you when you're mixing because you can get to it quicker. And then you move the very speed to hold it at that speed.
So what we're looking for here is a good intro point.
Intro point and, I mean it's just a simple mix this one, so we're just going to use the drums.
Okay.
Also you can use the side here on the platter. And that's about there. Okay.
Got the beats matched.
Yep. So then what you're going to do, go back to the beginning. Going along with the beat.
We've got to wait for the point of that one to bring it in.
As well, yeah.
Okay.
So there's quite a lot to think about all at one time.
Yeah.
And then it's on, it's okay, and then we can bring the crossfader across.
That's a smooth mix.
So Sarah, that's the first mix out of the way. What we're going to do now is a slightly more complicated mix.
Okay.
If we listen to the intro of this tune here, it's got basically 16 bars of drums, percussion at the beginning, and then it goes into its break.
This is the break.
Yeah, and that's where the song starts to build from here. What we want to do is get this part of this tune coming over the drums on the end of that one.
Right, okay.
So what we have to do, we have to think back on this one. We know that it was 24 bars to the end of drums and percussion, so we need to think back 16 bars. This is why it's so important to know the tunes you're playing and think about structure when you're going to do a mix.
And this is because if you mixed it where there was lots of vocals, it would just be cluttery. You couldn't do it.
And it could be out of key and all sorts of things. Everything can go wrong.
Okay.
And if people are dancing in a club, you know, they want to have it flowing properly, and people expect that. So I'll put the first tune on over here.
Okay.
And as before, we've got to go over to this side and cue it up.
That was straight away, you got the beat there.
Fortunately here, it's still queued up from before. But with this tune, I know that this chorus goes on for 16 bars, and I want to drop it after 8, which is here. Don't forget, as soon as you move the crossfader over a little, that's what the people can hear, that's what's coming out as soon as you start to move that.
Because in the headphones at the moment...
You can just hear that one, yeah. And as well, once you set the beats, it's a handy art to learn to move the fader really slight amounts, and that helps you keep your mix in.
Just to perfect it.
Yeah. And there you can hear this one's gone into its break, this one here has gone into the drums.
Right, so now's a good time to mix.
We'll leave it running for, you could leave it for 8 bars here, we'll probably leave it running for 16. Something to notice is that I have the headphones quite low because we haven't got the speakers really loud here today.
Right.
But, you know, people shouldn't have their headphones too loud, there's no real need.
Okay. Okay, you just rip that across there, straight into the vocal?
Yeah, that's it.
Excellent. One of the most important milestones in a DJ's rise to the top has to be playing that very first gig. With the ever-increasing numbers of DJs out there fighting for those precious first jobs, anything that you can do to increase your chances must be worth a shot.
To get from being a beginner in my bedroom to the point where I'm being requested to play at other clubs has taken me about 5 years. So it's a long process. I think you've got to try and use it as a hobby still. Just look at it as a fun thing, and if anything comes of it, then all the better.
When I was 15 years old, I came to the decision that I was club ready to do what I wanted to do. And because I look older than I am, my first gig was in Sheiks in Bognor Regis.